They could produce products that has cost us billions of dollars, and now they're promoting it on all of their TV shows and everything. So actually it's cost the taxpayer a lot for very little. So I would want us to lower the corporate tax rate so that companies could do their own research and development. I believe in the free trade.
Okay, Mr. McCain, the Farm Bill is coming up for authorization in 2012. What kind of programs would you champion to promote sustainable organic agriculture, given the fact that we have such a vast amount of agriculture within the 2nd Congressional District?
That is going to be something that's going to be discussed for a long time, because organic agriculture is, I still think that's almost in its infancy too. I mean, the programs that we're using right now, they work. Some of the problems I've got with the farm initiatives are the subsidy programs. I've got a real problem with that. It costs the taxpayers a lot of money, and these subsidies frequently, when these farmers are paid not to grow certain products, they take the money, they do what they're told, except they'll go ahead and grow it and then dump this on the world market, which has given us a real black eye in the world market. So as far as this goes, I think we need more supervision and more scrutiny over what we have on the books right now. We need to pay closer attention to what we're doing.
Okay, Mr. McNeil, would you look at maybe expanding tax incentives for conservation easements as an alternative to fee simple acquisition of conservation land?
Say that again, I'm sorry, I missed a word or two there.
Okay, would you support expanded tax incentives for conservation easements as an alternative to just, outright fee acquisition of conservation lands?
Well, again, certainly from the city standpoint and the state standpoint, to buy quality lands and make preserves and so forth would be just fine. Free enterprise is not going to do that. Most free enterprise people are going to build a condominium on it, And so I do think it's, like Teddy Roosevelt, when he started the National Park Service, they cut down, I've been all through the Redwood Forest and so forth, they cut down 95% of those trees that were 2,000 years old. How stupid can you get? And so I think there is places like that the government needs to step in with national parks and green areas, and our states and our cities and our communities on our own lands. My little ranch property out there, we haven't used any fertilizer on it in 3 years. So everything we do is efficient and making it where it will be a self-sustaining place by itself. And the world goes to hell in a handbasket, old Ronnie Mack will be over there on that ranch, and I'll be just fine. So that's the way I believe is do it now and do it right once.
Okay, Ms. Berryhill, you talked about some call it the Taj Mahal, that first DCA thing out there in Southwood, and the fact that so many trees had to be bulldozed for that, and some of the other developments out there. But in many parts of Florida, including some sections now of North Florida, we've been kind of immune to it before, but you do have a number of invasive and exotic species of plants that are crowding out some of the natural things that have been growing here for centuries. How do you think Florida ought to deal with that? Is there anything at the congressional level that could be done to kind of handle that situation?
No, I really don't think so. I think that's something the state should be doing. Of course, I'd like for our federal government to be smaller so more dollars stay down with the state so they could do more. But I really think it's something the state of Florida should address. And I am certainly not an expert on how to deal with getting rid of different plants. The one thing I would say is that I do wish that we would replant our canopy roads, which we have allowed to just rot away, literally. I've lived here for over 22 years, and you go down Centerville Road, and it's ridiculous the number of trees. I mean, we have branches falling and trees falling. So I think we could do a better job with that, but as far as getting rid of the plants, I would certainly go to experts for that, because I do not have the expertise to tell you what we should do with that. And I also would like for it to stay with the local and the state level.
Alrighty, folks, we're within the magic 5-minute mark here, so we're just getting ready to close things down. You have been wonderful, very thoughtful answers to the questions. Thanks again to the audience and to the committee with the Big Bend Environmental Forum who put this together. This is something we can start with, Mr. McNeil, and work our way backwards here. Since we've been talking a lot about free market, shrinking the size of government, trying to reach some kind of a balance between environmental protection and liberty and all that. Under what conditions do you think the government needs to get involved to address destruction of the environment when it's done by a business?
Yeah, well, what you can do is write the specifications. See, we bid jobs all over America and Canada and so forth with my environmental company, and we have to go by whatever the specifications is, the engineer or the city required, and so you write those specifications clear and precise. And to me, that's the one thing the federal government could do, is you could have the Corps of Engineers and people write these specifications so that you have to go by that. And then put inspectors there to make certain that that's the case. And if you don't do that, the government doesn't need to be in the business of being in business. What they need to do is be in the business of setting up guidelines to let free enterprise work. And then you look at the Ma Bell. Ma Bell had the curly phone cord. They finally got, where my house rang 2 rings and yours rang 1 ring. And almost no advancement in decades of monopoly. And so what we need to do is turn free enterprise loose. Now with free enterprise loose, look at all the things you have. I'm sitting there with an iPhone, it's a 16 gigabyte computer in it. All these things from technology comes from free enterprise. But you set the formats so that free enterprise can work. And that's how you make this country successful. And that's the only way we're going to turn it around financially. You've got to make it where this is a bastion for free enterprise in this country. And it's better to do business here than it is in China and other places.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McKinney.
Yeah, government definitely does have its role. There's no doubt about that. Bottom line is, the government needs to enforce what it has in place. Perfect example, the Deepwater Horizon. Minerals Management Service, they exempted BP from a detailed environmental impact study. Now, that's something they were required to do, but they exempted them from that. They also exempted them from a detailed blowout plan. Now, these are things that should have been done, and legitimately on especially something like that can have such an environmental impact. That the scrutiny on that should be without question. And that is something that definitely the government can, in fact, do. Now, I'm definitely one that says the government gets in the way and everything, they make it rough, they make it tough. When I was in the fire department, we always had a saying, when the chief comes out, the building goes down. And unfortunately, that's the way the government works too. But in this instance, when there are regulations on the book, they need to do their job. And if events like this happen, well, then you've got to pay the price for not doing the right thing. And if that's business, then that's business.
Thank you, sir. We end where we began, Ms. Berryhill.
Well, if I understood your question, it was what should government do if there's destruction of environment by business? We do have a lot of laws on the books. My husband worked for DEP, so they were in the regulation business for the environment. And definitely, the government should step in on certain things. And if a business has destroyed something, I mean, we all know the dry cleaners. That was one thing. We've had that big cleanup. When you have a service station, the tanks being dug up, we have to have people that are looking out and ensuring that they are cleaning that up properly. And we all know all the horror stories of the different things that were not cleaned up in other areas of our country where people ended up with a lot of cancer and their children were born with birth defects. So we do have to have regulation, but it needs to be enforced, and we need to not allow the parties, the Democrat or the Republican Party, to be selling out to big business and to lobbyists, which happens over and over, and then people get sweetheart deals not to get things cleaned up. And so, I mean, look at the oil spill in Alaska. I mean, that took years, and we're still not sure if they completely cleaned it up. So I think to enforce what we have on the books, and if we need more laws, let's put them there, but let's ensure that we are not overstepping what the state should be doing with laws from the federal government.
Thank you, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 of the candidates for the second